Iran just made the biggest mistake of its life. For 28 days, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps held a gun to the throat of the entire world economy. They closed the Strait of Hormuz, shut it completely. 20% of the world's oil stopped cold. Oil prices exploded past $126 a barrel. Gas prices jumped 25% for American families almost overnight. Iran's new supreme leader went on television and told the world the strait would stay closed. Iran thought they had won. Then 2,200 United States Marines showed up at their doorstep on March 28th, and everything Iran calculated just fell apart. What happened next is the part nobody saw coming. Because America did not send another carrier. America did not send another airstrike package. America sent the one force that Iran spent 40 years preparing missile batteries for and never actually prepared to fight. Marines, on ships, with F-35B stealth fighters, heading directly toward the islands Iran used to control the strait. And Iran, watching USS Tripoli arrive in the region, just realized something that changes this entire war. Did 2,200 Marines just end Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz? Stay with me. Because the answer is yes, and the way they did it is something Iran never prepared a single defense against. First, you need to understand why Iran thought this blockade was unbreakable, because it almost was. The Strait of Hormuz is only 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. 21 miles. That is smaller than the distance across some American cities. And Iran controls the entire northern coastline. Every mountain, every valley, every offshore island on the Iranian side is packed with mobile anti-ship missile launchers, drone swarms, fast attack boats, and radar systems watching every vessel that tries to pass. Iran did not just close the strait with warships. Iran closed it by making the risk of transiting so catastrophic that ship captains simply refused to enter. In 28 days, Iran attacked 21 confirmed merchant vessels, killed sailors, set tankers on fire. Ship traffic through the world's most important waterway collapsed by 90%. 125 ships used to pass through every single day before the war. That number dropped to 5 ships per day. That is what Iran's blockade looked like from space, and the world was screaming for oil that could not move. America tried airstrikes first, thousands of them. The United States military struck over 6,000 targets inside Iran during Operation Epic Fury. They destroyed Iran's navy. They sank warships. They blew up underground missile bunkers along the coast with 5,000-pound penetrator bombs that bored through layers of rock and concrete. They killed Iran's top naval commander, and the strait still did not open. Because Iran's strategy was never built around its navy or its missile bunkers. Iran's strategy was built around something far simpler and far harder to destroy from the air. Cheap drones, hidden in houses, stored in civilian garages, launched from fishing boats, fired from the back of pickup trucks. You cannot bomb a pickup truck you cannot find. You cannot destroy a drone stored in a garage when you do not know which garage. Airstrikes can destroy fixed targets. They cannot destroy a threat that is mobile, dispersed, and hidden among the civilian population along 1,000 miles of Iranian coastline. That is why the strait stayed closed even after 6,000 American strikes. And that is exactly why the Pentagon made a decision that changed the entire equation. Stop bombing from the sky, start controlling the ground. USS Tripoli, America-class amphibious assault ship, 44,000 tons, 855 feet long. And she arrived in the CENTCOM area on March 28th carrying something no airstrike package in the world can carry. 2,200 United States Marines from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, the most battle-certified rapid assault force America has ever produced. They completed full combat certification in February 2026. They spent weeks in Japan running Iron Fist amphibious assault exercises with Japanese forces. They practiced exactly this, seizing coastlines from the sea, taking islands by air and by water simultaneously, holding terrain that aircraft can only ever fly over. These are not troops being sent to figure it out when they arrive. These are Marines who trained for this exact scenario and were certified combat-ready before they ever left Japan. Think about what that means. An airstrike flies over a target, destroys it, and leaves. The threat rebuilds from a new location 2 days later, and the problem starts again. Marines land on a target and own it. They stay. They control it. They deny Iran the ability to use that ground ever again. That is the difference between a punch that lands once and a hand that grabs the throat and does not let go. And here is the weapon that makes Tripoli unlike anything Iran prepared to fight. F-35B Lightning II stealth fighters, 20 of them aboard Tripoli right now. The F-35B does something no other stealth jet on Earth can do. It takes off vertically, like a helicopter but at fighter jet speed. It does not need a runway. It does not need a massive carrier deck with catapults and arresting wires. It can launch from a small patch of flat ground, from a road, from a tiny island barely large enough to fit a basketball court. Iran built their entire coastal defense around the assumption that American jets require large fixed bases to operate from, runways that can be bombed, carriers that can be targeted with anti-ship missiles. The F-35B erases that assumption completely. Tripoli is not just a ship. She is a floating airbase that parks itself 20 miles from Iran's coastline and launches stealth jets in every direction around the clock from a platform Iran cannot easily target and cannot predict. Now here is how the marine assault actually works and why Iran has no answer for any layer of it. The 31st MEU operates in 3 separate layers all at the same time. First layer, MV-22. Osprey tiltrotor aircraft lift Marines directly off Tripoli's flight deck at 300 miles per hour. The Osprey takes off like a helicopter and flies like a plane. It flies over minefields. It flies over seawalls and coastal barriers and every defensive position Iran spent decades building along the waterline. It lands Marines directly on top of Iranian missile launch sites and radar installations before Iranian defenders on the ground even know an assault is happening. That is called vertical envelopment. You do not fight through Iran's coastal defenses. You skip them entirely, fly over them, and land directly behind them. Second layer, AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters fly low and fast, hunting every Iranian fast attack boat before it can reach the shipping lanes. These are the cheap fiberglass speedboats the IRGC uses to plant mines and ram tankers and launch drone attacks on passing ships. The Viper carries Hellfire missiles and a 20mm cannon and flies faster than any speedboat Iran has. Iran has hundreds of these boats hidden in coves and inlets all along the coastline. The Viper hunts every single one of them the moment they leave cover. No warning, no second chance. Third layer, the Marines themselves, on the ground, physically securing the 3 islands sitting directly inside the strait itself. Abu Musa, Greater Tunb, Lesser Tunb. Iran seized these islands in 1971 and spent 50 years turning them into unsinkable weapons platforms with missile batteries, radar arrays, and IRGC garrisons whose entire job is to track and threaten every ship entering the corridor. With United States Marines on those islands instead of IRGC soldiers, Iran loses its eyes inside the waterway, loses its forward firing positions, loses the ability to threaten ships at point-blank range from terrain sitting directly in the middle of the transit lane itself. And there is one more target that changes the entire leverage calculation in this war. Kharg Island, 15 miles off the Iranian coast. This single island processes 90% of Iran's crude oil exports. 90%. If America controls Kharg Island, Iran cannot sell its oil, cannot fund its military, cannot sustain its blockade for more than weeks. Sources with knowledge of White House thinking said this week that taking Kharg Island is actively under discussion. Senator Lindsey Graham posted on social media this week simply saying he who controls Kharg Island controls the destiny of this war. With 4,400 Marines now converging on the region, America has the amphibious assault force to seize it. Iran knows that, and Iran has no answer for it. And the 31st MEU is not arriving alone. Reports confirmed this week that the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit, 2,200 more Marines, is on the way from San Diego aboard USS Boxer. That brings the total converging on the strait to 4,400 Marines. 2,200 can raid and withdraw. 4,400 can seize an island in the morning and be fully dug in and resupplied before nightfall. That is not a raid force. That is an occupation force. And Iran knows exactly what the difference means. Iran sees all of this moving toward them. And for the first time since February 28th, Iran is the one without a good answer. Because here is the trap Marines create that no number of airstrikes ever could. Every IRGC commander along the coastline now faces the same impossible choice. activate missile batteries to shoot at ships, and the F-35Bs detect the radar emissions and destroy the launchers in minutes. Launch drone swarms, and the Vipers and F-35Bs intercept them before they reach the shipping lanes. Deploy fast boats, and the Marines on the islands spot them leaving port, and the Vipers are already in the air. Do nothing, and American Marines are physically standing on Iranian-claimed territory, controlling the corridor Iran spent 40 years fortifying. There is no move Iran can make that does not make their situation worse. That is what Marines do, that bombs alone never accomplish. They do not just destroy, they occupy. They deny terrain permanently. They turn a military problem into a geography problem that Iran cannot solve as long as the Marines are standing there. Some will say the strait is not fully open yet. They are not wrong. Mine clearing still takes weeks. The 11th MEU is still en route. Iranian drones can still be launched from deep inside the country, far beyond Marine reach. This war is not finished. Anyone telling you otherwise is not being straight with you. But here is what is undeniably true as of March 28, 2026. Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, thinking America would respond from the air and eventually negotiate. America responded by sending the one force specifically designed and trained to take ground and hold it indefinitely. Iran threatened any ship that entered with destruction. America sent 2,200 Marines who spent February getting combat certified and marched sailing toward the threat at full speed. Iran told the entire world no ship is allowed to pass. America is now physically positioning forces that make that statement impossible to enforce from Iranian soil. Only one country on Earth responds to a global energy crisis by putting boots on the doorstep within 28 days. Only one military moves from a training exercise in Japan to a combat-ready assault position at the Strait of Hormuz in 17 days flat. Only one nation on this planet looks at 40 years of Iranian coastal fortifications and sends the exact force those fortifications were never actually designed to stop. Iran closed a strait. America sent the Marines. And every single time in history that America has sent the Marines, the other side eventually figured out that was a very bad day for them. If you are proud of what these men and women are doing for this country and for the entire world right now, type proud in the comments. Subscribe to our channel. We do not guess here, we engineer.